Hello, this is Farrell Vincent, coming to you today with the final piece of the Holy Trinity. And that is, of course, a gaming term. You're probably at this video because it is about DPS characters in Watcher of Realms. Hopefully, it's also because you're here for Guild versus Guild, because that is the focus of the video. However, this is kind of true for all content. So if you're here just because I'm talking about numbers and statistics and YouTube said, yep, that's what we want to give you, you're here. In this series, I'm making a specific caveat that is, I'm not going to only focus on one aspect of the game. I'm going to focus on my experience and what I've been going through. And to color that, you really do need to understand where I'm at. In my guild, we do focus on Guild versus Guild. Right now, we are currently ranking in Platinum 3, but we've dipped into Overlord a handful of times, which is 0.5% of players. Now, every time we get into Overlord, we kind of get raffle stomped. It's pretty gross, but we're kind of popping in and out. So we're somewhere in that realm. So just keep that in mind. I am not speaking to the vast majority of players when I'm talking about my experience. I'm speaking to the 1% that is here. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to only focus on free to play. I want to focus on who's good, who's bad, and where to put them and all these other things. That is what this series is about. And specifically in the Holy Trinity, and especially with DPS compared to the other ones, this is where this is going to start to really separate the meat from the potatoes. Because a lot of these heroes that we're going to use today, or not even use, just briefly go over, really are hard to explain. And some of them don't have direct allegories. And a lot of them would be considered pay to win. I don't know why, because you can get them free to play. It's just your chances are very low. So, I hope RNGesus has blessed you. But let's get into it. So, who are we going to talk about? The DPS. DPS fall under 3 categories: fighters, marksmen, mages. This is arguably one of the last time I'm ever going to say this in this video. And the reason being is I don't care about any of those. Now, there are some phrases that we could use that then tell you things. For instance, knowing that fighters are always ground units kind of helps, sure. And knowing that marksmen generally all have the same range base helps with placement. So in the placement videos, you might hear about those other phrases a little bit, but for today's video, I could care less. Because I really just want to talk about who's doing what and what do you need. So, in Guild versus Guild, the thing you need is 3. What 3 do I talk about? So, you need, in almost every setup, 2 platform and 1 ground DPS. I say in almost because you could run 2 tanks. You could run 2 defenders and get rid of your platform DPS. Your ground DPS, that's fine. If you wanted extra block, it's not that big of a deal. But if you have some of the fighters that could go on that spot, they'd generally be better than a second tank in most instances. Not all, but most. So, that kind of gets us into who does what. So you're going to have 3 classifications. There's a 4th. We're not going to talk about it too much. We'll probably start with it because it's going to be the shortest. There are 3 classifications of damage types in this game. You have single target physical, single target magic, AoE physical, AoE magic. You don't really need to know anything else about a hero. Yes, for placement you do, but to understand a DPS, you really don't. So, We're going to start with single target magic because this is going to be short. With literally 3 exceptions that I can think of off the top of my head, you don't want single target magic because this demon exists in the game. So his big thing is that, but like this is it right there. That right there. That's why you don't want it. Watch. No stats. We're going to talk about this. I'm just going to put in, 100k Praetus. And congratulations, you would need to have a magic DPS with more than 25,438 attack. That is not an impossible number to hit. However, there are very, very few single target magic DPS characters that can do it. Very few. And I can tell you right now, none of the few are marksmen. So I am so sorry to arguably one of my favorite characters in the entire game, one of my favorite heroes, Hex, should not be in anyone's friggin' roster. Because his base attack is too low to ever get up over 25,000 without some insane gearing. Like, I could really just pedal to the metal attack, and I don't even think I can break that, right? Like, this... Oh, he doesn't have that set right now. Okay. Whew. Oh, I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. This one? Okay, so Praetus does. Got you. 1 second. We're just going to play this game. Oh, I forgot to awaken him earlier. I got Hex A3 today, by the way. That's an aside. All right, here we go. I want to just throw this into perspective. That's really high roll. It's not completely maxed out, but it's really high, right? Guess what? This also has flat attack. This isn't a bad roll either, right? Guess what? This also has flat attack. It's attack bonus base. Guess what? This is this is the attack. It doesn't have the flat attack for once, but like 400 isn't going to really do much to get me to 25,000. This is an insane piece. It's still not enough. This is an A2 Hex. He's got a... Oh, wait. Hang on. Is that even the right one? Hang on. One second. We'll really go into this, guys. Watch. All right. Here we go. It's not there. Right? There's not much more I can do to this Hex to get him to 25,000. If you wanted to argue to the moon and back, there is a way to do it. You just need perfect gear. And if you have perfect gear, you probably have better units you could put in that spot. So, I'm sorry, Hex. I love you. But it's just not enough. So, there's a couple of other, by the way, factors that do factor in that you don't see there, right? You have some of the post-deployment stuff from Pantheon. So you could argue, okay, hey, 12% of 19,000 is, I don't know. Hang on, let's just do this. Because I feel like it. Times 0.12, right? Yeah. Oh, wait, that's 1,900. My bad. Add a 0. So 2,280. So we're just going to go 19,000 plus 2,280 equals... Wait, I did it again. Add a 0. No, don't do that. I did bad numbers again. This is why you never do math while you're recording, for the record, for anyone who's not made YouTube content before. Congratulations, we got up to 21,280. I'm still not at 25,000. You know what I mean? And like, bruh. So, single target mages, don't use them. I spent longer on this than I thought I was going to. Single target magic damage. Don't use them. Sometimes I say mages for magic. I don't know why. Single target physical. There are some insanely good options, and it is totally acceptable to use. The main reason behind it, though, the main reason you want the single target physical is generally for flyers. Most of the flying things in this game, and most of the flying demons, let me be more specific, don't exactly have a ton of defense. And defense is the stat that physical goes based off of. A lot of the demons that you're really scared about don't have a lot. Now, you do want a combination of magic and physical damage in most of your compositions. Again, there's always exceptions to literally everything under the sun. I just want to call that out. But for the most part, having like a single target physical damage dealer that prioritizes air units isn't a bad thing. Just because that does oftentimes help you get past the worst of it. Again, going to the same example, right? I'm going to take this and let's just affiliate. Oh, it's already there. Is it hard to get past 11,273 defense? No. I don't even have to switch a gear. I could just click on some people that have that, right? Granted, none of them are in the category that we're talking about, but that's okay. Like, I know Valderon is, but he's a bad example. Heck, Hex. Hex could deal with that. Yay! We found something Hex could do, because he's already over it with the 15,000 in my insane gear right now. So, you get the idea, right? You're really looking at, does the attack pass the defense threshold? I'm going to say that again. Does the attack pass the defense threshold? If yes, great. If no, worthless. Deal? Deal. So, what else do we need to then watch out for? Because attack is like king, right? I know a lot of people are going to tell you, you always have to roll like triple attack this and do that. Yes, asterisk is really what I say to that. Like, yeah, it's really best because you're not going to know what affiliation level your opponent is coming at you with, right? You're not going to know. So it's always best to get as high up as you can without sacrificing anything else on attack. And the reason being is if you can get as high up as you can and still hit like 100% crit rate, 300+% crit damage, you're generally sitting pretty. And your attack interval, I mean, obviously that's a nice to have. I consider that a luxury for the most part. Because I'm really genuinely focused on making sure I get that attack value up as high as possible, especially if any of these numbers are low. Because if the base number is low, it's harder to get that number up. If I take the same gear that Hex has right now and put it on, let's do the fun one. Put it on an Ardea. My Ardea right now has 26,524 attack. I'm pretty sure I have... Okay, I have 2 attack bonus pieces, but no attack bonuses coming from the set piece over here. Because I was going for attack speed. But guess what? If I flip this around, guess we gained 7,000. I gained half of Hex's attack bonus as a bonus on top of what she already had, right? Like, Ardea is nutty. And you can kind of see that right there, right? Do I ever need 33,642 attack? No, I can't actually get anyone that high with affiliations. Like, I don't even think it's possible to get somebody so high that that wouldn't just be bypassed. So that's kind of the point. You can absolutely build attack so high that it doesn't actually matter. Like, that's why this dude has physical damage resistance of 40%, because Ardea exists. I'm going to see this guy real quick, just because, again, this is what I do with DPS. Is it possible to get past 24,000 for a physical damage dealer? Absolutely. You've seen multiple examples of that already, right? There's a reason why this number is generally lower. The magic res is lower because less heroes that deal magic damage have high base values. So a lot of people then go into DPS because of numbers, right? All DPS is a numbers game. Is attack higher than defense? If it's magic, is it higher than magic defense? If it's not magic, is it higher than physical or just defense? Right? And I say not magic because technically speaking, there is normal, normal, and there is piercing. Piercing. This is a slightly yellowish number. This is a red number. It doesn't matter. It's physical. Don't worry about it. So, now that we kind of know this, we can start to understand why Uridan scales so well with gear. Because if I take Hex's gear, and I plop that bad boy on a Uridan, ironically, he loses a little. Oh, because that's on Valderon. No, it's on Ardea. Where'd you go? There you are. Oh my god. Guess what? That single target issue with the Pharaoh, he's getting close to bypassing it at like 20,000 base. But there's a reason why he gets to 107 with 0 awakenings, and that is because, guess what? I just beat a Pharaoh with a Uridan. Uridan does AoE magic damage, by the way, which just is stupid. So the reason why he scales so high compared to like anyone else in terms of BP for BP boosting is because he is a magic damage dealer with a base attack of 6,000 something. You're going to notice that about every single hero with high stats. The higher the base stat is, the better the scaling. The better the scaling, the higher the BP. We cool? We cool. All right. So, now that we're past that, the second thing you need to know about AoE magic. Oh my god, I got off. Kind of. So, that is physical, single target physical, single target magic. Again, does attack, bypass, resistance. Really, the next thing to consider then is AoE versus non-AoE, right? AoE meaning area of effect. So, AoE characters like Uridan, like an Ingrid. Ingrid kind of special. Obviously, she's hybrid. Like an Ardea. These ones are very rare. They are all ancient exclusive heroes. And they are all broken as all hell for Guild versus Guild and should absolutely be used if you have them. Because they're unique in the sense that they do area of effect damage, but they also have that high base value. And so it allows you to bypass the thresholds easier. That's why they're used so much. So please consider that when you're thinking of your main DPS. Now I've introduced a new term, main DPS. Main. There are several heroes that can main DPS in Guild versus Guild. Not all of them have insanely high stats. Some of them have crazy kits that do certain things. Some of them have really good abilities that you need to then consider. We're going to talk about main DPS more to the end of this video, believe it or not, because I want to talk a little bit about the other ones because they're a little bit faster. Main DPS, I just want to highlight, right? Pop through, bam, bam, bam. I could go on all day about DPS because you need 3 of them out of your 5 units, arguably. Again, you could sometimes drop the fighter, even though I've given 2 that can actually kind of do it. I will say Uriden's not a great choice for main DPS. Like, if you have to, do it, but he's not a great choice because unfortunately his ultimate kind of lets you down. It's not that it's a bad ultimate. It has insanely good scaling. Like, bruh, 500% damage on a dude that's already really, really freaking high. I'm just saying, it's not as bad as people make out. Unfortunately, he gets outshined by other people in that same one, and he's better than Hex at the same job. Like, he could kill the Pharaoh that Hex can't. The only thing he can't do is hit air units, which is why he's not great. It's also why Ardea is not the best either. But that's beside the point. So, what we're going to talk about, though, for main DPS, and the reason why I say main DPS, let me back up. What we're really going to talk about for the supporting DPS is what their role is and what they're doing, right? So the way I consider somebody between a main DPS or a support DPS, and this, by the way, determines the order in which I give gear. So I always give gear to my primary damage dealers, my secondary damage dealers, and my support DPS in that order. We haven't talked about secondary damage dealers, but I'm pretty sure everyone can figure that term out on their own. For the actual support DPS, they're bringing something else to the fight. All right, this is Mari. Mari is awesome and terrible all at the same time. Why is Mari awesome and terrible all at the same time? So first and foremost, she has an abysmally low attack. I wouldn't be surprised if I found out that was the lowest in the entire game. Would not shock me. She has a 2.0 attack speed interval, which means you really don't need a lot of attack speed for her to really get going, right? She's not going to scale well. It's kind of back to my previous video on healers in the Euphoric Orb. We're going right back into this. Speed doesn't help Mari much because she doesn't have as much to get low. So, what do I mean? If you have a really high attack interval at the start, very little attack speed will help you a lot. But then you're going to hit what is commonly referred to as a soft cap. What that number is, I don't have the exacts. If anyone does, and you are the math nerd of this game, I want you, like, in my subscriber list. You have my full permission to add me on Discord and to start sending me nerdy stuff, because I will cover it in excruciating detail on your behalf. This is my promise to you right now. If you are that nerd, I want you. For everyone else that's watching, let's do this in real time. Mari doesn't scale all that great with attack. With speed. The best things for Mari are literally trying to fight against this while simultaneously getting some speed, some crit damage, and for the love of God, some rage regen, because her ultimate is amazing. Again, this is a support character. But the way I build my supports is with damage in mind. I'm not expecting them to be amazing, so I don't care if they hit crit cap. This kind of a piece is fine on a Mari. I don't care that this doesn't have crit strike or crit rate. I don't care, and I'm not going to get her crit capped because she's not there for damage, but she does it as a consequence of her job. Right? Other things that I like for support pieces. I really, really, really like the Mana Spring set, if you can do it. Mine's kind of crummy. Like, that's aight. That's pretty bad. Yeah, we'll do this one. Okay. And let's see. We're gonna do this one. And then we're gonna do, I don't mind Rage Regen, right? Like, that's one of the stats I really want on her, so if we have a good Rage Regen piece, we'll use it. You know? Both of these are tempting. That flat attack is really tempting. I'm gonna go with this, though. Yeah, because speed's not all that big of a deal. So yeah, like something like this actually works pretty decent for Amari, right? I've gotten her basically at 3 times her normal attack value, which is still low. Like, again, does her attack bypass the threshold needed? No, it doesn't, right? If I were to put her in, this feels weird. If I were to put her into a Tier of Twilight, would it then do that? Still no, but there's an asterisk. So Tier of Twilight is a post-deployment buff. It would be 30%, so... Alright, again, we're going to do this live. 30%. We get rid of that 0, which is 934. We then multiply that by 3, and that is 30%. So with a Tier of Twilight, she'd gain an extra approximately 3,000 attack because I'm going to be very lazy on math. And so she'd hit around 12k, which is barely enough to deal damage. That's what it takes to make a support DPS. If they're not going to get past that number, don't bother with trying. If your gear is not good enough to do what I just did, and you can't spare those pieces, because keep that in mind, those are all pieces I would be willing to spare for Amari. I know my account well enough to know that I would do that. But, like, I can't do that very much. So, keep that in mind. Your support DPS should be a DPS if you can do it. If it's just not in the cards, then ignore what I said about attack speed, because who cares? If they're not going to deal damage anyways, make them attack a lot and have a ton of rage regen, and that's it. You don't need to worry about anything else. They're there for 2 reasons, right? The reason you put Amari in a composition is not because she's an amazing DPS. You put Amari in a composition because she inflicts slow that is really slow, and these icicles that she triggers inflict physical damage vulnerability, which means they take more damage. Oh, and I already mentioned, but her ultimate is absolutely insane. It freezes forever. Like, forever. Okay? So, support DPS. Every composition should have one if you can. The most notable, like, insanely good ones, the ones that I like the best, because I do want to talk about at least 1 or 2 of them if I can. I'm just going to highlight them. I really, 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 really like, Iona's great, but that wasn't one I was actually going for. I'm going to do, by the way, all epics for this category because they don't matter as much. There are legendary ones that do great. Kai at A3, I believe it is fine for that. Yeah. He's getting that worm snare down is required. Otherwise, he's not that great. Yeah. Getting that down so that you can have that 3 traps out at a time, right? That's what the reducing it by 5 seconds does, is it basically means he always has 3 traps on the map after the first 30 seconds. So waiting on a Kai doesn't really do much. But I digress. That is a highlight of a legendary version already, and I haven't even gotten to the best ones. Maul is, I just cannot understate enough. Yeah, understate. I cannot overstate enough. Maul is crazy. Salt erosion is slept on. Okay, that's defense reduction. He makes people take more physical damage. He reduces their physical defense by 15%, period, end of discussion. I don't think I've ever seen a magical defense allegory to this that would make the Pharaohs go down easier, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Maul, with Awakenings, goes from, holy god, that's a 900% AoE physical damage. Oh, by the way, that most likely has assault erosion because this is up most of the time. Right? So Maul's Abyssal Surge is a knockback, really high, 900% like AoE. 900% is a very high number. Very high. That ultimate cost of 500 is dirt cheap. It is up all the time. I did this with one of the tanks. I'm going to do this with Maul. Bruh has the 14 Rage Regen Auto. It's kind of stock standard almost. But every basic attack is another 10. Let's do the math, everyone. So, to get to 500, right? We're getting 14 a second. Let's just round that down to 10. Why not? To get to 500, that would be 50 seconds or a minute, which is, If we're attacking, we have a base 3.5 attack interval. We can easily get that under half. So we want to get our Maul down to 1.5 because, again, unlike Mari, he scales very well with attack. Again, there's another 10. So if he is attacking something, he will generally get his ult up every 10 seconds or so. And the reason being is because you're getting 20 a second-ish, right? I don't know, I guess if we really want to get fastidious with the math, and I mean the word, not the creator. If we want to get fastidious with the math, it would be 30 every 3 seconds. And so that would then be, for 500, 10 seconds would be 300. 30 seconds would be 300. That seems wrong. It's so much faster than that. Don't let me do math on videos anymore, guys. If anyone catches me doing it, let me know in the comments. I am notorious for this, by the way. Oh, hey, we won some. Did anyone attack his Maul comp? No. Maul is just crazy. That is all I will say. Maul is so much better than people give him credit for. No one attacked his Maul. Use Maul. He's a great support DPS. That is all. So, down to the secondary DPS. What makes a good secondary DPS, in my opinion, is a mixture of both versatility, crowd control, and damage. And you really do want all three. Most compositions will highlight a secondary DPS is what I would argue is your main AoE damage. Most of the time, that's kind of how I generally see that role being filled. Especially for my comps, I generally have a very high AoE damage character that's mainly there to be swarm resistance. Ardea is perfect in this role, right? I'm actually using Valderon right now in that role because Valderon is a single target character in spirit, because chaotic annihilation happens and then everything dies. And it happens a lot. Yeah, 1 in 4 chance. Anyways, we won't get demonetized this video. Not today, because chaotic vitality exists. Anyways, I'm on a tangent again. You get the idea, guys. AoE damage is good. There's some AoE DPS that can be a main DPS. Right? There are some heroes that I may or may not be putting up on screen that can do it. And if you can do it, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Heck, some heroes that can do it, just saying. But they do have that mixture of utility and damage for the most part. That's kind of why I say can. He does have kind of utility. Sometimes it applies a curse. It's kind of okay sometimes. Anyways. So, why do we have to consider them? Again, we want that mixture of crowd control and damage. Again, always answer those questions. Does my attack bypass the enemy's defenses that I'm looking for, right? Magic for magic, physical, or defense for physical. And do I have enough gear to make this work? That's beside the point. I mean, that is the point, but you get the idea. The final one really is the main DPS. The main DPS is the star of the show. Most compositions, you're going to find that's a physical damage dealer for one reason and one reason only. And that is because Captain Maw exists. And again, this is at high level play. I'm not talking about like, bruh, I'm in gold. No, you're not going to see this dude in gold. And if you do, you're dead anyways. But he exists. He exists and is scary. Right? That's a lot of hit points. Right? That's not even like the craziest BP I think that exists for this, but like I can get him up by 187,000. Jesus. Right? He exists. And because he exists, you need to worry about him. And because you need to worry about him, you will see him pop up all the time. And if you don't have a star DPS for that particular roster, chances are good you're not going to ever see him die. So that's why single target's very important. And I'm pulling up this video because I'm hoping he's using Maw so that we can show this off. And he is. Hey, look at that. I'm not surprised. So again, he's trying to abuse the whole like, oh, bro, magic. But like that's a Praetus. He can actually get over 25k. Oh, and he does a lot of true damage. But you're going to see this dude right now. He's still a menace. But Praetus is just that strong, right? This is another one of those people that can be. He's single target with an asterisk. But if you're going to ever get Maw down, you absolutely have to have one of these really high DPS. And so knowing who's who is really beneficial. That is my point to everyone here. So, some of my more favorite ones. Also, and we'll go in the placement video, actually. I'm going to save this point for my next one. I just want to say there are so many good star DPS. So many in this game. Pick one. It's fine. Praetus, of course, I just showed off. Right? I already have his attack at like 22,000 and he has a Tear of Twilight. So I know he's over 26k. That's why the Pharaoh doesn't scare me with that particular unit, right? Like with Praetus, I'm not afraid of it. I can get Ingrid to the same spot, right? She's able to do it. It's fine if she goes into her single target mode. She's a beast. Alistair can do it, by the way, guys. It's harder, but he's over 5k, right? These are the heroes that can get over that because they have that high base value, right? But unfortunately for Hex, he's in the low 4s. You saw the gear thing that I just did. Your star DPS has to be like able to take care of every single thing that you need them to do. And that's kind of what I'm trying to tell everyone. Like, make sure that your main DPS is your main DPS and put your best gear on them. Let me know down in the comments if you like this kind of video. If you have any more questions, again, I really just wanted to like briefly go through this. I could get into a rabbit hole with artifacts. Just figure it out. That's my best advice. It's not always the case where Wailing Skull is the best, or even that Tear of Twilight is the best, or that, the Spirit Siphon is the best. Those are arguably the most generally best for those particular categories. Like, if I were to give you a blanket, use this, that's what I'm going to say. But the Wailing Skull is completely useless if there's not a space for the demon to drop within range of the target. So there's no point, right? If you're using an Ardea and she's at the back of 3 melee or 3 ground units, right? Tear Twilight's not going to be any good because it's going to drop to her right or her left, and it's never going to drop in range of the actual enemy, which means it's not doing any damage. Therefore, Tear Twilight sucks. I'm giving that as an example. This is a give me. Realm Tear is alright-ish, but it's every 2 tiles, or sorry, every tile beyond the first, so this is only at 16% damage. It's not even that great. Conditional to bleed. Really good. But can't take damage, right? All of these have a condition. Generally okay. Gets a little better, but it's alright, right? It's still conditional. That doesn't last that long. You kind of get where I'm going. With the right kind of chaotic comp, always decent. Really good for magic damage. You can do that with a lot of these guys. I love to say this for like exclusive artifacts. Some of them are okay. Some of them are kind of almost even needed. Right? It's 15% damage. That rage is really, really, really needed because Anora does not gain like much rage on attack, which feels weird because it says it's there, but Anora has to attack. It's not from Labor's attacks. It's so strange. It does not work as good as I want. But she is good, right? A lot of these heroes, the thing that you're going to notice is standout, right? Your main DPS can do crowd control. They can do all the other functions, but you have to have them as somebody who can carry you. So think of it like a carry and find the one that works right for your comp. So I rambled longer again because I forgot about artifacts until this moment. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for making it this far. I will absolutely see you on the next one. Peace.